Ever feel like the world of blockchain technology is just moving at warp speed? It feels like a constant challenge just trying to keep up. New stuff popping up daily, everyone claiming they've solved the big issues, scalability, speed, security.
Oh, absolutely. The pace is, well, it's relentless. And, cutting through all that noise to figure out what really matters, that's key if you want to stay informed.
Exactly. And that's precisely why we're here today for this deep dive. We're going to try and cut through some of that noise for you. We want to zero in on one of the really compelling players in this space, Avalanche, and its native token, AVAX. Remember, that's AVAX, pronounced AVAX.
Yeah. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack Avalanche's core tech, help you get your head around its unique economic model, explore some frankly surprising real-world uses, and, think about where it might be headed. We've pulled from various sources to give you a solid but hopefully digestible picture.
Okay, great. So let's kick things off right at the beginning. What is Avalanche, really? And what makes it, stand out from the crowd?
Right. So at its core, Avalanche is a high-performance Layer 1 blockchain. It launched back in September 2020, developed by AVAX. From day one, it was really designed to tackle those major limitations we see in older networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Think scalability, transaction speed, security. Those were the big targets. Basically, it's an open, programmable platform for building decentralized applications, or dApps.
Gotcha. So aiming to faster, more secure, handle way more traffic for these dApps. What's the secret sauce? What makes its architecture special?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Unlike a lot of blockchains that are just like one single chain doing everything, Avalanche actually uses 3 individual but interoperable blockchains, and each one has a very distinct job.
3 chains. Okay, that is different. Walk us through them. What do they do?
Sure. So first up, you've got the exchange chain, or X chain. Its main job is creating and swapping AVAX, the AVAX token, and other digital assets. Think of it as the network's main hub for moving assets around.
Okay, X chain for assets makes sense. What's next?
Next is the contract chain, or C chain. This is really where most of the action happens in terms of development. It's specifically for hosting smart contracts and those dApps we mentioned. And crucially, it's EVM-compatible, Ethereum virtual machine compatible.
Oh, EVM compatibility. That must be huge for developers, right? Makes it way easier to bring projects over from Ethereum.
Exactly. It lowers the barrier to entry significantly. So yeah, most apps you find on Avalanche, they live on the C chain.
Okay, C chain for contracts and apps. What's the third leg of the stool?
That's the platform chain, or P chain. This one's kind of the coordinator. It manages the network validators, keeps track of all the active custom blockchains, which Avalanche calls subnets, and it's also used to create new subnets.
All right, subnets, we'll definitely need to talk more about those. So just to recap, X for assets, C for contracts, P for coordinating validators, and these subnets. How does breaking it up like this actually help? What's the advantage?
Well, this modular design is, frankly, a game changer. It leads to much higher transaction throughput, and it directly addresses that classic blockchain trilemma, balancing decentralization, security, and scalability. By splitting up the jobs, Avalanche can optimize each chain for its specific task. You get specialized processing, much faster speeds, but without really compromising on security or decentralization. It's why people often call Avalanche not just a platform, but a platform for platforms.
Platform for platforms. Yeah, I can see why. That really captures it. Okay, so how does it all agree on things? What's the consensus mechanism behind this multi-chain setup?
Avalanche uses a pretty novel consensus mechanism. It sort of blends ideas from older classical consensus and the Nakamoto consensus you see in Bitcoin. The really unique part, it's a leaderless protocol.
Leaderless, meaning no single entity is in charge of proposing blocks or anything.
Exactly. There's no central point of control dictating the process. Instead, it uses this clever system of randomized subsampling. Basically, validators randomly poll small groups of other validators, and they repeat this process quickly.
Wow, okay. A leaderless protocol sounds inherently more decentralized. What are the practical benefits you see from that?
The big ones are really fast consensus and incredibly quick transaction finality. We're often talking under 1 second. Plus, it does this while maintaining high security and being very energy efficient. And that leaderless aspect is crucial. It genuinely boosts decentralization and helps avoid those rich-get-richer dynamics you sometimes see where big players dominate validation. It spreads the power out more.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's bring it back to the token AVAX. How does it fuel this whole engine?
AVX is absolutely fundamental. It's the native utility token, the basic unit of account across all three of those chains. Its uses are pretty broad. You need it to pay transaction fees, obviously. You use it to secure the network by staking it. It powers operations within those custom subnets. And it also represents how much weight a validator has in network decisions. It's really woven into everything.
All right, let's switch gears a bit and really unpack the economics behind AVX. Understanding the tokenomics is crucial, right? And I know it has a hard cap on its supply.
That's absolutely right. AVX has a fixed maximum supply. It will never exceed 720 million tokens. That hard cap is a key feature, positioning it as potentially a deflationary asset down the line.
How does that break down? Were they all created at once?
No, so 360 million AVX were minted right at the start at Genesis. The other half, the remaining 360 million, are designated specifically for staking rewards, and they get released gradually over time.
And where are we now with the circulating supply?
As of early May 2025, roughly 422 million AVX were out in circulation. That's about 58.65% of the total maximum supply. And it's important to know there's a whole vesting schedule for various token allocations that stretches out quite a ways, into 2030 actually. Some tokens unlock all at once after a cliff period, others are released linearly bit by bit.
Right, those vesting schedules and token unlocks are definitely something investors keep an eye on. I heard there's a specific unlock coming up around August 15th, 2025.
Yes, that's correct. That's a known scheduled event involving tokens for the Avalanche Foundation. It's something the market anticipates. But, beyond those specific cliff unlocks, there's also a steady, predictable release. About $2.19 million worth of AVX tokens are released daily through a linear mechanism.
Daily. Okay, why do they do that?
It helps provide consistent market liquidity and kind of smooths out the supply increases rather than having huge shocks just from those big cliff unlocks. It lets people plan around a more predictable flow of new tokens entering the market.
Okay, that's a clear way to handle supply increases. But now for the really fascinating part, the deflationary side. Avalanche does something unique with transaction fees, right? 100% burn.
Yes. This is a really distinctive and frankly powerful feature. All transaction fees, the gas paid to use the network, are completely burned, permanently removed from circulation, gone.
Wow. So like an automatic buyback.
That's a great analogy. Think of it exactly like an automatic share buyback for the AVX token. Every single time someone uses the network, whether it's a simple payment, a DeFi trade, or even launching a whole new subnet, those AVX fees vanish forever. And on the C chain, where most apps are, it uses an EIP 1559 style dynamic fee market, similar to modern Ethereum. But here's the key difference. On Avalanche, both the base fee and any priority fee tip get burned. On Ethereum, the priority fee goes to the miners or validators.
That is a huge difference. So what does that burning tell us about the network's health?
It's a direct signal. A higher burn rate means more people are using the network, more transactions are happening, there's greater demand for Avalanche's services. Just as an example, there was a recent week where users burned something like 439,000 AVX. That was worth around $16.7 million at the time. That points to some serious activity.
Okay, so you have this strong deflationary pressure from fee burning. But then you also mentioned staking rewards, which create new AVX. How do these two forces play together?
Right, that's the counterbalance. New AVAX are continuously minted, but specifically to reward the validators who are staking their AVAX and securing the network. The idea, the goal, really, is for this minting process to roughly offset the AVX being burned through fees. It aims for a kind of balance.
And validators get rewarded based on how much they stake.
Exactly. Rewards are proportional to their stake. And there are extra incentives if they lock up their stake for longer periods. For instance, staking for the maximum duration, which is 1 year, can earn you about 11.11% more in rewards compared to just staking for the minimum period.
And I remember reading something distinct about penalties. Avalanche doesn't do slashing, where validators lose some stake if they mess up or act maliciously.
That's another key design choice, yes. Unlike many other proof-of-stake systems, Avalanche doesn't implement slashing penalties for things like brief downtime or even certain malicious actions. The idea behind this is to lower the perceived risk for people running validators. They hope it encourages broader participation, getting more people involved in securing the network. Bad actors still get disincentivized because they simply won't earn rewards, but they don't face that additional risk of losing their principal stake.
Interesting trade-off. So bringing the tokenomics together, it sounds like it's designed to be this constantly adjusting system.
Precisely. It's all about achieving a dynamic equilibrium. You have the hard cap, stopping runaway inflation forever. You have the staking rewards, introducing a controlled amount of new supply. And then you have the 100% fee burn, acting as this powerful counterforce, directly linking network usage to token scarcity.
So the million-dollar question for you, the listener, really boils down to this balance, this tug-of-war between burning and minting.
Absolutely. The long-term success and, the value accrual of AVX really hinges on whether network activity driven by dApps, subnets, all the use cases generates enough fee burn to consistently match or even exceed the new tokens being minted for staking rewards. If the burn rate is higher than the mint rate, AVX becomes net deflationary, that burn to mint ratio. That's probably one of the most critical metrics to watch for Avalanche.
Definitely a key takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to seeing AVX in action. We talked about staking securing the network. How can regular users actually get involved in that?
Right, so staking AVX is core to the proof-of-stake security. There are basically two ways to participate. You can run your own validator node. This requires a minimum of 2,000 AVX and some technical know-how to keep the node running reliably. Or the much more accessible option for most people is to be a delegator. You can delegate your AVX to an existing validator you trust. The minimum for delegating is much lower, just 25 AVX.
25 APX. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes it pretty accessible. And what about how long you have to stake for?
The staking duration can range from as short as, believe it or not, 1 day up to a maximum of 1 year. And like we said, the longer you commit to staking, the higher the potential rewards. Right now, there's a pretty significant chunk of AVX being staked, around 48.07% of the eligible supply. That translates to roughly $4.3 billion in market value locked up, which also reduces the amount of AVX readily available for trading, potentially adding some price support.
A serious amount locked up, showing commitment. Now let's talk about one of Avalanche's sort of flagship features, subnets. How does AVX power these custom blockchains?
Subnets are, they're a really big deal in the Avalanche ecosystem. They let anyone, developers, companies, projects, launch their own highly customized layer 1 blockchain. You can set your own rules, use different virtual machines, even define your own set of validators. And AVX, it's the essential fuel. Creating a new subnet actually incurs some of the heaviest transaction fees on the network, and those fees are paid entirely in AVX, which then get burned.
So launching subnets directly contributes to that burn mechanism we talked about. Wasn't there a recent upgrade that made launching them cheaper?
Yes, exactly. The Avalanche 9000 upgrade was huge. It slashed the cost of launching one of these sovereign L1s, these subnets, by an incredible 99.9%. It also changed how subnet validation works. Instead of needing that upfront 2,000 AVX stake just to validate a subnet, validators now pay a continuous but small AVX-denominated fee. The expectation is that this will actually lead to more AVX being burned over time, especially as more and more subnets launch.
So making it easier to launch them could ironically increase the burn rate.
Potentially, yes. It removes a barrier to entry, encourages proliferation, and every active subnet means ongoing fees. It really reinforces AVX's role as this foundational infrastructure asset. Its value becomes increasingly tied to the overall growth and activity across all these interconnected subnets. It feeds back into that platform for platforms idea.
Okay, AVX is clearly the backbone. Beyond staking and subnets, where else are we seeing Avalanche make inroads? What about the broader ecosystem?
It's definitely expanding. In DeFi, decentralized finance, Avalanche has carved out a significant niche. Its total value locked, or TVL, which measures the assets locked in DeFi protocols, surged pretty dramatically, reaching between $1.5 to $2 billion at times. You see popular protocols like Trader Joe and BNQI really thriving there, partly thanks to Avalanche's lower fees compared to, say, Ethereum mainnet.
Impressive DeFi presence.
Yeah.
But I know you mentioned it's moving beyond just crypto-native stuff. What about areas like gaming or tokenizing real-world assets?
Absolutely. That's where it gets really exciting, I think. For gaming, Avalanche offers a really solid foundation for complex player-driven games. We're seeing major commitments. Gonzilla Games is building their AAA Battle Royale off the grid on an Avalanche subnet. And the MapleStory franchise launched a Web3 version, MapleStory Universe. On a subnet, that game has a massive existing player base, over 7 million.
Wow, AAA games choosing Avalanche subnets. That's significant. And real-world assets, RWA tokenization, everyone talks about that being the next big wave. Any concrete examples there?
Oh yeah, quite a few compelling ones are live. Lemonade, the insurance company, uses Avalanche smart contracts and oracles to automate crop insurance for small farmers in Kenya. Payouts happen automatically based on weather data super efficient. Deloitte, the huge consulting firm, is actually using Avalanche to help manage FEMA public assistance payments here in the U.S., streamlining disaster relief funding, makes it more transparent, more automated. Then there's Inpain, which launched a platform called Intain Markets on an Avalanche subnet specifically for tokenizing structured finance assets, extinct mortgages, loans. That's a multi-trillion-dollar market they're aiming to improve transparency in. And Blockticity uses Avalanche for supply chain certification. They've minted certs for like $1.2 billion worth of hemp and cannabis products. They link QR codes to NFTs on Avalanche to fight fraudulent paperwork.
Those are incredibly tangible real-world applications, far beyond just trading tokens. What about more general enterprise or consumer uses?
We're seeing movement there too. Dreamus, which is part of the South Korean giant SK Planet, uses Avalanche for ticketing within their OK Cashbag app. That app has 21 million users. They use it to combat ticket scalping and counterfeiting. And there's a platform called Tib that integrates with Shopify. It uses Avalanche to let Shopify merchants create loyalty programs, rewarding customers with digital collectibles and special perks on the blockchain.
It really seems like major institutions and brands are getting comfortable building on Avalanche.
The partnerships are definitely a strong signal. We're talking serious collaborations with names like JP Morgan, Deloitte, as mentioned, HSBC, Van Eck, Republic. Plus, you see partnerships with global brands in sports and entertainment. FIFA, the NBA, Sports Illustrated has done NFT tickets on Avalanche. Even payments giants like Visa and MasterCard are involved in pilots or programs. And the Avalanche Foundation is actively pushing this, funding projects through grants and initiatives like their Codebase incubator.
That level of institutional buy-in and brand partnership really adds credibility. How is all this activity reflected in the network's actual usage metrics?
Well, we've seen key tech upgrades helping things along, like the Octane upgrade, which boosted speeds and cut C-chain transaction costs by over 42%. Metric-wise, daily active addresses saw huge growth, jumping like 375% to average 500,000 in July 2025, even peaking near 950,000 at one point, though there's always fluctuation. TVL and DeFi, as we said, surged significantly. And app growth is clear. You see protocols like Blackhole becoming the biggest decentralized exchange on Avalanche quite rapidly, handling hundreds of millions in daily volume.
And those subnets we keep mentioning, how many are actually live now?
The subnet ecosystem is definitely growing. As of July 2025, there were 80 specific Layer 1 subnets live, with a target to get over 100 by the end of 2025. If you look at the broader count, there are currently about 175 active Layer 1 chains within the whole Avalanche ecosystem, serving all sorts of different needs from gaming to finance. And they saw a new user adoption rate climb to around 23.5% back in Q3 2024. It points to a pretty vibrant, expanding network.
Okay, no doubt Avalanche is a serious contender with real momentum. But let's be balanced. Looking ahead, what are the hurdles? What challenges does it face in this super competitive blockchain world?
Yeah, it's definitely not operating in a vacuum. The Layer 1 space is incredibly crowded. Avalanche is going head-to-head with the established giant Ethereum, but also with other high-speed platforms like Solana and BNB Chain. Now, AVX has its strengths, that high performance, the customizable subnets, EVM compatibility, the fee burn, but it also has unique challenges to navigate.
What stands out as a key challenge specific to Avalanche's design?
I think one of the most debated aspects is what some call subnet security fragmentation. While the customization of subnets is a huge plus, it also means each subnet is responsible for securing itself with its own set of validators. Unlike models where new chains inherit the security of the main chain, here, the security of an individual subnet depends entirely on the value staked by its specific validators. This means security can vary a lot from one subnet to another.
So if you're a big company using a subnet, you can't just rely on the overall security of Avalanche. You need to look specifically at your subnet's validators.
Precisely. For high-value applications, you'd need to do careful due diligence on the economic incentives, and the validator set securing that particular subnet, not just assume the main network security applies equally. It's a trade-off for that customization.
Got it. What other potential weaknesses or challenges should people be aware of?
Well, like many proof-of-stake networks, there's always ongoing discussion about potential centralization risks. If validator diversity decreases, or if a few large entities accumulate a huge amount of staked AVAX, that could concentrate influence. It's also still a relatively newer platform compared to something like Bitcoin or Ethereum. It hasn't had the same decades-long track record of reliability under fire, and its developer community, while growing fast, isn't yet as vast as Ethereum's.
That makes sense. What about performance under extreme stress or just the general market competition?
While the network shows high theoretical TPS, the consensus mechanism hasn't really faced, like, a global-scale extreme stress test event yet.
Hmm.
It's possible unforeseen bottlenecks could emerge under truly massive, sudden demand. Also, it's innovative tech, the three chains, the subnets. It can be complex for newcomers, both users and developers, to fully wrap their heads around initially. And the market competition is fierce, not just from other Layer 1s, but also from the rapidly evolving Layer 2 scaling solutions being built on top of Ethereum. Some analyses suggest those L2s are grabbing significant market share right now. And then there's the ever-present regulatory uncertainty hanging over the whole crypto and DeFi space. That affects everyone, of course.
Okay, turning to the AVAX token price itself. We know crypto is volatile, and AVX has seen big swings. I think the all-time high was way up near $147.50. What are analysts saying about its potential price path forward? Keeping in mind this is all speculative, of course.
Of course, highly speculative. But looking at recent analyst commentary, short term, some see potential for AVX to hit maybe $28 by the beginning of August 2025, perhaps trading in the $26.50 to $27.50 range towards the end of July 2025. Longer-term projections tend to be more bullish. You see targets like $80, $100 sometime in 2026. Some really aggressive bull cases may be dependent on the entire crypto market cap exploding to like $10 trillion, even throw out numbers like 115.
And on the flip side, the more cautious or bearish view.
The more bearish scenarios may be tied to a slower overall crypto market growth, say. The total market only reaching $3 trillion suggests AVX might struggle to get much past maybe $57 or $58 by 2030. But generally, the sentiment often leans positive, largely because the underlying fundamentals, the tech, the partnerships, the growing ecosystem, that fee burn look pretty strong. And that transparency around token releases, even the big ones, helps the market digest supply changes perhaps a bit more smoothly.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this all up. It seems clear. Avalanche really does stand out. You've got that innovative three-chain architecture, the hard-capped AVX token with its powerful 100% fee burn, and this rapidly growing ecosystem fueled by some genuinely impressive real-world uses and big institutional partnerships. It truly feels like it's delivering on that platform for platforms vision.
I think so. Its strategic bet on specialized subnets seems to be paying off, attracting serious players across DeFi, gaming, and especially that RWA tokenization space. It's really working to bridge the gap between, traditional industries and the possibilities of blockchain.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. As Avalanche keeps enabling these specialized custom blockchains for potentially everything from global supply chains and finance to AAA gaming and social media, picture this. What if every major industry, or even large individual corporations, could easily launch their own highly tailored yet interoperable blockchain, all seamlessly connected, all secured by a foundational network like Avalanche powered by AVX? What kinds of unprecedented possibilities might that unlock? Not just for you as a consumer, but maybe as an innovator, an investor, or just a participant in what could be a very different kind of digital economy. Definitely something to think about.